Hello and welcome. We are glad to have you with us today for this webinar on certifications. It's the last in the contracting and certification series that we have been going through. So thank you, Gina, for all of the fabulous information you've been sharing over this series. I'm your moderator, Jenny Alton from the New York Small Business Development Center Central Office. Your host today is the NYSBDC, a U.S. Small Business Administration resource partner with regional centers at higher education institutions and outreach offices at other locations across New York State. Our no-cost advising, education, research, and advocacy services are made possible by funding from SBA, New York State, and our host campuses.
Mhm.
Your presenter today, as I already mentioned, is Gina Hayduk, and she is the NYSBDC Statewide Government Contracting Coordinator, as well as an advisor at the Mohawk Valley Center. So today attendees are muted and will not be on camera. If you have any questions during the presentation, please drop them in the chat as they come up. We will address questions at the end of Gina's presentation. And with that, I will turn the time over to Gina.
Thank you. And I'm going to turn my video off so you don't see me looking all over the place. There we go. So, like Jenny said, good morning, and thank you for joining us today. We're going to explore the steps in starting your minority and women-owned business enterprise, which is known as the MWBE, and the women-owned small business, known as the WOSB. And I'll be taking you through the qualifying questions and how to start the process. And as Jenny stated, we'll have a question and answer at the end. Oh boy. Okay, sorry, I'm a little. There we go. Guess I haven't had enough of my coffee today. I apologize. So first we're going to look at the New York State MWBE certification, and we'll be navigating through the requirements, the eligibility, and once you can prove you qualify, then you can actually get started. I just learned, and I'm going to add this to the information today, is that the MWBE is going to be revamping their questions. So when they do actually change or do any kind of change, I will let Jenny know, and hopefully we can get a word out to everybody once I've gone through and figured out what's changed, what's new, what's not. I will be giving everybody that information. So more to come. But right now, these are the standards, so we'll go through them. The New York State MWBE eligibility requirements are stated under Article 15A of the executive law, and that's the governing force. And it states that an MWBE is a business enterprise in which at least 51% is owned, operated, and controlled by citizens, a permanent resident, aliens, or permanent resident aliens who are meeting the ethnic definitions listed below, which are Black, which persons having origin from any of the Black African racial groups; Hispanic, which are persons of Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, Central or South American descent of either Native American or Latin American origin, regardless of race; Asian Pacific, which are persons having origin from the Far East, Southeast Asia, or the Pacific Islands; Asian Indian subcontinent, which are persons having origin from the Indian subcontinent; and Native American or Alaskan Native, which are persons having origin in any of the original peoples of North America. Now, when you start your application, there's a certification assessment tool that you'll be brought through, and that link is right here. So the next few slides, I will give you yes and no questions used as a tool to assist your firm in its preliminary steps toward the New York State MWB certification, and can be found, like I said, at this link. And it will let you know if you meet the criteria to apply. So right now, maybe get out a pen and paper or just in your head, go through and decide your answers to these questions, and it might help you. One hint though, they don't all need to be yes. So don't think that if you say no to a question, it's going to exclude you. So first, is the business owned at least by 51% by a woman? And then is it business owned by 51% of a minority group that we just stated? Is the business owned at least 51% by a women minor and a minority group member? So those are questions that you want to think about. Next, it says, have you been in, oh, I did, okay. Have you been in business for at least 1 year? And you will need to provide at least 1 year of taxes. So no, if you have been in business for a year and it just fell, so you don't have your taxes yet, you'll need to have taxes before you can submit. Is the business publicly traded? Is the business authorized to do business in New York State? Some businesses are outside of New York, but do business within New York State. So you'll need a certificate to do business in New York State, and you'll also have to show that you are adding revenue to New York State. In the last year, has the business paid taxes to New York, the purchase of New York State made products or materials, or having payroll in New York State? Again, they're trying to see if you have equity put into the New York State economy. And you would select NA only if the business is applying in an industry with a small business waiver. And there's the link in this webinar that can help you with that. Very few people fall in that criteria. And has the business been an average of more than 300 employees? Again, select NA only if the business is applying for an industry and a small business waiver. Next, we have, in the last year, have you conducted business in New York State by either performing work or working towards obtaining work in New York State? So they're going to want to have all this information. The majority owners have personal net worth of less than $15 million? And this one's an easy one usually for a small business to show that you do not have a net worth more than 15 million. And have the majority owners made capital contributions to the business that are proportionate to their equity interest in the business? And that's a big one when people are trying to determine their percentage of the business. And I will go through that. Lastly, does the business currently hold a certification from one of the programs listed in the drop-down menu? And these are all the different options. And it doesn't mean that you'll get approved, but it is a way for them to know that you've been approved by a different certification, and they may go to that certification to see some of the information if they want more on what you're doing. So here's I call it the wheel of wonder. It's the visual of the pertinent criteria needed to apply. They take all the information that we just went through in a graphic. And I've highlighted the one thing that is your starting point. Are you in 1 year in business? Because that's a big thing that you need to have all the other paperwork that goes with it. So you have to have 51% ownership, and you also have to be the highest officer in the position. So that's a big thing that not everybody tends to realize. You have to have the proper NAICS codes, which are easy enough to find, and I can help you through those. You have to have managerial experience because every person who holds the top position should be able to manage the business. But you also must be able to manage the daily operations, which that can be a sticking point. How to apply. So once you have answered the questions and feel you are fit for certification, this is the website where you'll get started. On the opening screen, you will choose certify or recertify with New York. Now, recertification does have to happen every 5 years. So this page is where you're going to come back to when it's time to recertify. And you will get an email from the ESD to tell you that you need to recertify soon. Once you click on certify, this screen will come up. And the option one is their choice if you've not created an account. It will take you to the account login so you can set up a username and password. And once you choose option one, you'll be asked questions, those questions that we just went over. So you'll know what they're going to be asking. So you don't have to do all these steps if it doesn't apply for you. Okay. Federal woman-owned business, small business. They have just redesigned, reorganized, did everything. It's all brand new. So if anybody has a WSB and you need to certify yourself, you'll be noticing that the screens have changed. Some businesses who needed to, they're the same, and every 5 years you have to recertify. And some businesses who fell in the transition period because they were having some problems with the database were given an extension, but know that the extension is up. So if you had an extension, it's probably almost time for you to recertify. So please be aware of that. This is the new screen. And for those of you who have been approved as a WSB, you'll notice that the system has changed. If your recertification and the extension is up, this is the screen you will get. What I'm going to do here is to show you how to get started and the questions that it now asks. And what it has done, and one of the things that has changed is that by your answers to the questions, it will tell you what government certifications are available and will let you apply for all of them at the same time, where before the 8A, the hub zone, the veteran owned, and the women owned were all different and you had to go to different pieces of the database. Now it's going to ask you the questions and we'll go through them so you can see what they are. And same thing, you can write down your answers. And so when you go in there, you know what you're being asked. So the questions are as follows, and many are yes and no, and I put them on there. Note if your answers the questions and it gives you a notice of what is preferred, it will not keep you from applying, but it may not suggest all the options, just so everybody understands that. So again, do you own 51% or more of your business? Yes or no? You have to define your sex, and those are drop down and you choose. Are you claiming social disadvantage? And if so, then you answer yes or no. Are you a US citizen? Are you a veteran? Do you sell what the government buys? And so that's a big question because for the government, unlike the state, they want to know if you sell what they want to buy, where the state, their contracts are there, but they don't always need that before you actually get certified. So you will type in this spot, there's a spot to put in your NAICS codes. If you don't know what your NAICS codes are, I did put the link here for you to help you get there. And then is your business generating revenue? That's a big one too. They want to know that you actually are making money and are performing work that does continually generate revenue. And can you invoice and receive payments electronically? Just a word of note, they require you to do that. So if you don't at the moment, you may want to find a way to make that happen. Can you cover your costs, which prior to receiving your first payment? Because working with the federal government, nothing is ever fast. So you need to be able to cover what your expenses are and your overhead before they pay you. And do you own a small business located in the US? Well, that makes sense, right? Do you believe your principal office is located in a hub zone? Now, if you answer no, you still can go and figure out if you are in a hub zone. My recommendation is I would say yes if you do not know. But we're gonna go to the hub zones in a minute. So, and do you believe that 35% of your employees reside in a hub zone? Again, is your business registered at sam.gov? If it's not, before you even go, I would go and register your business on sam.gov. Doesn't hurt you not to have it. It doesn't hurt you to have it because then you have your information in there and it's a lot easier for everybody. Are you under financial limits? And that's a big thing because they want to know if you can handle a large size job. And can you provide annual financial statements, which most companies that are established do have a balance sheet, income statement, and all that. And do you affirm that neither the business nor any of its owners have ever been debarred or suspended by any federal entity? You will know definitely if you have. So if you've never received any information or any kind of um, literature saying that you cannot work with the federal government, you're okay. Again, here's the wheel. The one big difference is that there's no minimum time in business, but they do ask you for your taxes. So it's kind of a misnomer, but this is what they say. So with all those answers, and what I did was I did the best scenario. So you can see what it comes up to tell you what you're eligible for. Now, if you did not answer the question of are you in a hub zone, if you answered it no, it will not come up here. So that's where I'm saying you may want to, because as you can see, there's the hub zone calculator. That will give you the option to decide if you are actually in a hub zone. But this is what your page will look like so everybody can see that what comes up. So again, like I said, the hub zone is one of those things that not everybody thinks about. And that's why I would like to highlight it at this moment. It's this hub zone stands for historically underutilized business zone, hence hub zone. And many companies are qualified, but don't think to get that distinction. And to qualify for the hub zone program, it's fairly easy. Your business must be a small business according to the SBA size standards, which again, I have the link so you can check. And just so you understand it, soybean farming, which I know I just picked it, their annual revenue can be up to $2.25 million. So SBA size standards are bigger than you think they are, is what I'm getting at. You must be at least 51% owned and controlled by any one of these options, a U.S. citizen, Community Development Corporation, Agricultural Cooperative, Alaskan Native Corporation, Native Hawaiian Organization, or an Indian tribe. Again, just criteria. And you have to have your principal office located in a hub zone. And you also have to have at least 35% of your employees living in a hub zone. But this is the one caveat that nobody ever thinks about. No, not, excuse me, but the employee can be located in a hub zone, their principal or their home address doesn't have to be in the hub zone of the company. It just has to be that you have 35% of your employees living in a hub zone, not the hub zone of the office. That's a big difference. So here is just what that map will look like when you pull it up and you put your address in. I just put in Oneida County because that's where I am. And just so you can see all the different options and how much of a hub zone can be out there. Excuse me. And these are decided upon by your census. So the census that they just did, they just revamped the hub zones, and they do them every I think it's 10 years. Okay, questions. Now's your time.
All right. We invite you to drop your questions in the chat or the Q&A box. I'm looking at both. And as a reminder, I have put a link to our website in the chat if you are interested in assistance with a certification or anything else around procurement, government contracting. We definitely would love to see you at the NYSBDC. Our local centers work with Gina, who is our statewide coordinator in this area. Okay, so we will get started on questions then. And our first one is one of your slides. It asked a question about financial limits. So, what does that exactly mean? Can you go over that?
Oh, are you financially limited? So in other
Hmm.
words, it's part of the whole, and it's for the federal WSB. It's part of the whole idea. Are you able to fund the project before you're paid? So they don't, what they want to know is, do you have like a slush fund basically? Because the federal government may not pay you rapidly, and they don't want you to say mid-project, we're out of cash. So they want to know that you have a reserve to be able to handle the onset of the project.
Okay. And along with that, so are there any credit options that people utilize to be able to meet that financial limit standard?
There are things that are out there. What I suggest everyone to do is to go to your SBDC and talk with a business advisor, because every area is different and every county is different. There's always something you can find, but it's best to go local and ask, because there may be something that I may not know because I handle the state, but I'm only here in Oneida County. Okay, so I may know of something, but your local SBDC will know and be able to help you if there's anything out there.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Our next question is how do you access that hub zone map that you showed?
Through the link.
And I know, so we will be sharing a
Yes.
recording as well as the slides, and there's an activated link there in the slides, so you will have that as a reference. But go ahead, Gina, and show us like where that information is.
So it's right here. You would be located in a hub zone,
Mhm.
and it will come up just like that. And then you would put your address in there, and then the hub zone will come up.
Okay.
Does that help?
And yes, and that map is provided by the SBA then.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yep.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
exactly, anything that I give you, I try to put as many of the hyperlinks into the presentation so you have the ability to navigate. And the same thing with the SBA size standards that I was talking about. You're able to click on that and navigate. And then if you have questions, of course.
Excellent. Okay, another question then. If my business is new and I have not yet filed taxes, should I wait to get certified until I file the first tax return?
Yes.
All right.
And that's an easy answer for any certification. They're going to want to see that you're a viable company and are paying taxes and have the enough revenue coming in to file taxes.
Excellent. Now, what is the process running for MWBE certification time-wise now? What are you seeing, Gina, as you're helping clients get that certification?
So I am pre-vetted through the ESD. So if you work with me and I go through your application and come up with it, go through it and make sure everything's I's dotted, T's crossed, I put an email above the top of you on top of your application. I am seeing it to be about 30 to 60 days if everything's in accurately. They're, I don't want to say they're guaranteeing, but their time frame, what they're saying is anywhere from 90 to 120 days. So in the end, it's pretty quick in comparison to what it used to be.
Yes, absolutely. I know people used to wait quite a while for
Yes,
this to all be processed.
yes.
Okay, so as people go to apply for these certifications, what are some of the things that they tend to have trouble with? What are some tips you can give our attendees today?
The main thing is to, when it comes to trying to explain your business, a lot of people don't give a lot of information because they're always thinking less is more. But when it comes to these things, they want more. And they also want you to realize that when it comes to having ownership, you need to prove that you have the ownership, not by a check from the company to give you the amount of percentage that you need. It's basically they want to see that it's an actual purchase. So that's a big thing. And I get that problem a lot, especially when it's a husband and wife kind of um partnership, or it's a daughter and mother. You just need to show the progression that got you there and that it came from your personal bank account to purchase. And it can't, and it's not just $500 or $1,000. If you have an established company, it's worth more than that. And you have to be able to show that you put in that amount of equity from your personal accounts.
Okay.
That's a
And
pitfall that happens a lot.
yes, what are some other ones then?
So another thing too is contracts. And a lot of people think, well, I don't do contracts. Well, you do purchase orders and you do um just sell, buy and sell. Any of that is considered a contract. If it's a business that you were asked to perform some type of work one way or another, you performed it and were paid for it. That's big. What I have a problem with a lot of people is they ask for NAICS code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but the work they did falls under 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the two don't match. So if you're asking for a NAICS code, you want to show and granted, you may have other contracts that fall in the first NAICS code, but you just happen to, you want to make sure that there's connection. And that's a lot of the stuff that I do when I look at these, because there's so much paperwork that you're asked for. When I'm looking through it, I make a note of this, you need this here, you need to put it there, that kind of thing.
Okay. So for some more detail on some of this, what if a business owner has already put that equity into a business account? Would they have to show the transfer from the personal account then, or how would that work?
Yes, you just, because a lot of times you don't realize you purchased it 10 years ago, right? You just need to have that purchase and you can always get it. The bank can always give it to you, but you have to have that purchase. You have to show when you took ownership, how you took ownership.
Okay. Now, I know that there are sometimes some particular challenges around husband and wife businesses, like you have mentioned already. Can you speak a little bit more about some of those challenges, since that is a common
It-
business type that comes up and
that
there are
that
some
is a
challenges?
that's one of the biggest things that I have to have help people get over that hurdle. It's hard to purchase a portion of a business from a spouse because most people have joint accounts. But the point is that that's a small portion of proving that you actually have and can perform all the work and be the top paid and own the most. So if you're a husband and wife, the wife has to, if the wife is purchasing a portion to have more, a majority of the business, you will also have to prove that you can perform all the operations of the business, that you have progressed up to that position between either schooling or positions held in the business. So I've had a couple people that they just, because they did the work that the company required, they did it at a different company. They didn't think to put that on their resume. They need to see that you didn't just come over from doing the bookwork and sit in the chair and now be the majority owner and able to do the whole job. They want to see how you got there. Now, you may have been the one doing the paperwork in the last 3 years, but the previous 15, you may have done all the other stuff that happened in the business. Show it, show it, show it, show it. They want to hear your story. They want to see what you've done.
Thank you. And as you work with clients, typically, I know there's a lot of documentation that you need to get together and work through. So, about how long should people plan if they are going to start into this certification process? How much time should they plan for, doing this, getting the application in, all of
Yeah.
that?
Okay, so it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And it's something that I tell my clients to take. You know your business better than I do. If Friday afternoons are your slow time, or even if Monday mornings are your slow time, or Wednesday midday, parse out that kind of time every week and you will get it done. But it takes time, but everybody is different. Not everybody has the paperwork completely done or have to find it. So I can't give you a full-fledged, but I can tell you that for an MWBE, they give you 3 months to fill out your paperwork, and they do for the WSB now too. I think that it is 3 months. So that's showing you that they're not expecting you to complete it in a day. They're not expecting you to complete it in a week. There are people who can, because they're able to, they have everything, or they thought about it. And if you become a client with me, I can send you some helpful information to get you to start collecting it. And then when it's time, when you're able to start submitting, then it's there. I do like working with clients that have just started their business, because then I can tell you how to put stuff away, knowing what you need to put away. So when it's time to apply, you don't have to go looking for it. And that's a big problem. Sometimes they're like, oh, well, I didn't know I needed to do that. Okay, fine, do it. And then we can get it in there. So,
Excellent. So you do sometimes work with clients then who are not quite ready for procurement, but see it
yep,
in their future.
exactly.
And okay,
Yep. And
excellent.
lots of times it's like they'll come to me and they're like, well, and I have one right now. They're purchasing a business from someone else, and they just didn't know how to do the purchase or what is the right way and what to collect and whatever. So they came to me and I gave them all the things they need, and I may not hear from them for 6 months because their year isn't up, but they had the beginnings. And then when they're ready, you just get back to me and we start up and get the application going. So that's how I work on your schedule.
Thank you. Is there a comprehensive list of the information, documentation that is necessary to complete the application? Does that exist anywhere?
It does because I made it.
Excellent. Okay.
I do have, it's like 6, 8, 10 pages worth of stuff, but it's comprehensive, and in those who will need it, I disseminate it as quickly as possible to anybody who comes to me. Yep.
All right. Thank you. And as a reminder, our services are no cost. So
Mhm.
you get an easier time with your application, somebody to look over it, and you don't pay a thing. It's a pretty fantastic deal. All right. If anybody else has any other questions that they would like Gina to answer before we wrap up today, I would love to have you put those in the chat or the Q&A right now. But I do want to mention that we'll have a survey that will show up when we shut down today. And if you have a few minutes to just put in some information there, we love getting attendee feedback. All right.
Very
Gina,
good.
as we wrap up, is there anything else that we have not yet covered today that you think is helpful information for people looking at getting these certifications?
My biggest thing is documentation. If you think it's something you may need, I always tell all my clients, try to make a file folder and just drop stuff in there, even if it's a copy of it, just so that way you know that you have it. Because documentation is very hard to find if it's an older business. So if you're able to find what you need, keep it somewhere because you need to provide a lot to prove who you are, and what you do.
All right. And I know, Gina, sometimes Empire State Development runs some initiatives with organizations like ours. Could
Mhm.
you just mention what that is briefly too?
Yes, we right now there aren't any, just so everybody knows. But the Empire State Development will send out a thing, and it's basically to get qualified candidates in. It's an they you come through me. Like I said, I'm pre-vetted. I can get access to your application, so I can actually look at your application as you're doing it. So that way we don't always have to have meetings. You can just say, I dropped home a couple more things in there. Can you help me? And once you go through that and we send in your application, they know that if you have had a first look at your application because I did it. With that said, even though there isn't an initiative right now, they still are carrying out that kind of attention to detail with me. So I can still say I worked with you and I've checked over your application and I know what you have in there and I think that it's a viable candidate for MWBE. Now, will they approve you because I say so? No, but they will take it into consideration that I've had a first look at it and I've weeded out some of the things that either don't belong or need to be put in.
Okay. And definitely speeds up that process a bit,
It does.
correct?
Yes.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions for today, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. But please check in the chat. There's the link to our website, and you click the book appointment button, and then you can get assistance with certifications and anything else around contracting and procurement. All right. Well, thank you so much, Gina. And we're wrapping up the whole series. So again, we just so appreciate you taking the time to share all of this information. And attendees, you will get a link to the recordings of the whole series, as well as the slides and all of that good stuff in your email. So look for that within the next couple of days. All
Thank you.
right. Have a lovely rest of your day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.